Hello, I'm Dr. Scott Wadier.
And I'm Tommy Welling, and you're listening to the Fasting for Life podcast.
This podcast is about using fasting as a tool to regain your health, achieve ultimate wellness, and live the life you truly deserve.
Each episode is a short conversation on a single topic with immediate actionable steps. We cover everything from fat loss and health and wellness to the science of lifestyle design.
We started Fasting for Life because of how fasting has transformed our lives, and we hope to share the tools that we have learned along the way. Hey everyone, welcome to part 2 of episode 300. If you missed episode 1, head back to last week's episode, give it a listen. We're going to continue the conversation today. We're going to share some amazing testimonials and transformations, give you some action steps, and just continue to support you as you adopt your fasting lifestyle. So listen in, hope you enjoy it, and we'll see you next week. Last episode here is episode 36, 121%. How often can I do a 48-hour fast? Weight fluctuations and volatility, energy changes, weekend warriors, compliance, religious fasting, customized fasting plans. This is when we launched a 25-page customized biometric fasting program.
That's right.
We thought it was a great idea. We were excited. We posted about it. 100 of you said yes. We capped it at 100.
It's what people were asking for.
That's what we were hearing based off of how we talked about fasting then, right? It was very foundational in terms of schedules, etc. The number on the scale. This is before we came up with the idea of calorie debt and paying down the debt and all of the stuff that we talk about now. And I remember where I was sitting outside. I was at a Starbucks. And we were talking, and you're like, yeah, let's do it. And then boom, 100. We're like, okay, we got to stop. Now we got to go deliver these plans, right? So this is episode 36. And we created a customized, it was a 100-point questionnaire looking at your lifestyle, your food choices, your schedule, some of the stuff that derails us with social interactions and monitoring and motivation and all this stuff. And we put together these customized plans, and we were super excited. We're like, wow, that was a lot of work, but man, this is it. This is what we're going to do from moving forward.
Yeah, because we hadn't seen anything in the fasting space that got to any of those personalized levels of what somebody might need to actually execute an effective plan.
How do you handle the conversation with your kids? How do you handle date night, the spousal unit, the social events, the holiday calendar, the sleep, the work schedule, like exercise, food choices? No, we didn't see that. So we're like, man, this is going to be it. So we delivered the 100 plans, and we followed up with those people. And Tommy, the statistics that are true that we have seen over and over again in the research sadly came true for us as well.
Right.
That 95% of the population regains the weight plus some between that 2 and 3 year mark. And we found even sooner than that our folks, only 5 of them were able to lose the weight and keep it off through that first year.
Yeah.
And that was a huge wake up call for us.
Yeah, it was surprising and also discouraging,
Yeah.
Sure, because that's what everybody said that they wanted. They wanted something personalized on the fasting side that they could just, have, and it's delivered in a quick digital format, and then they could just go do it. It was, hey, can you just give me the plan and I'll go do it. That's what we used to hear. We still hear it a lot.
Yeah.
We hear it in the
What's the best fasting schedule?
What's the best fasting
schedule? The one
schedule?
you can stick to. What's the best workout plan? The one you can stick to. What food should I eat? The ones you like to eat. What's the best financial strategy? The one you're gonna do, right? It was such a shift in our approach, and this was in September of 2020, and this is when we actually started doing those challenges more consistently in 2021 up until now, and this is really where we saw a big shift in how we went about this.
Yeah, because the PDF, no matter how personalized it is, it can't do the work for you. It can't take the action. So even if the best
it's
laid
not going to motivate you to set your timer.
No, it's not. It's gonna find itself on your desktop or in your trash can, or like buried under some other files, on your computer, or it just it can't do the work for you. So then the real, like, where the magic happens, and where the rubber meets the road is really, what are the actions that I can take, and not every day has to be a 10 for me to get level 10 results over the long term. But it's that shift in the thinking, like you said, Scott, because that was within the first year of us, with the podcast. So we were like figuring out our own maintenance reps.
Yeah, we were still in our own journey. Yeah.
Yeah, and so but it was like
Early.
all the conversations that you and I had during, like, the meat of our fat loss phases, and going back and forth, and all of the questions, and the coaching, and the strategy, and the psychology behind it. It can't just come out on a PDF and then just do the work. Like, the magic's not there. There's like something is missing from that application right there. So then, going into, like you mentioned, the challenges, and going into the live environment of actually answering the questions, the one-offs, the personalization, hey, I've tried XYZ in the past, but that hasn't worked. Why might that be? Or what should I be trying now? Is a very different approach from just like, hey, here's a perfectly laid out plan. Now just go do it. Because, like you said, only 5% got there, and we were shocked to see that eventually aligned with the long-term weight loss management statistics as well. But I don't think it's all that surprising anymore, because it's kind of just either up to random chance, or up to the small number of individuals, like we'll call the 95% of us, the mere mortals. And then those 5% are just like the ones who didn't have to do anything different for them to see themselves in a different way, for them to just naturally on their own have a self-image, change as they did the work.
So we're going to give a shout out here to another review that came in, because I think it's a perfect fit for the conversation. Then we'll share some testimonials and talk about the future. Okay. But episode 10, episode 111, 77, 101, 97, 61, 100, 151, and 36 are the most consumed episodes of the last 5 years. So we'll have those in the show notes. Go back. I'm going to go back and take a listen to them as well, because that was a really cool feedback for us. That those are the conversations that really move the needle for y'all. So I want to give a shout out. This is a 5-star review. It's labeled Lifesaver, and it came in on August 20th, and it's, of course, our favorite kind. It says, "He who knows, knows." Out of all the fasting podcasts I've listened to, yours is one out of just 2 of the very best. I gave several other podcasts a fair try, listened to quite a few episodes, but most left me disappointed. Some presented information that was simply wrong or with little to no scientific backing. Others are filled with endless chatter and laughter, but almost no substance. Your podcast stands out because it constantly does the opposite. You ground your advice in solid science, not just anecdotes. You keep your tone light without letting banter take over, sometimes. Most importantly, I put the sometimes. Most importantly, you offer genuine encouragement and support through each episode. I'm a 66-year-old American, retired and living in a small remote town in Brazil.
Wow.
Podcasts and books are my lifeline for information and motivation. At my heaviest, I was 255 at 5'6", medicated for prediabetes, high cholesterol, hypertension, depression, and more. My health and outlook were in an advanced, very bad condition. I first dismissed intermittent fasting as a fad, but I refused to judge without learning more. After studying the science through books and videos on medical lectures, I decided to try it. Within a week, I reached a clean fasting with OMAD, 1 meal a day. I felt fantastic. The weight started coming off quickly, and within months, I was off all medications.
Wow.
Now I enjoy a slow, satisfying gourmet lunch each day with only water or black coffee in the remaining 23 hours. Occasionally, I'll extend my fast to 2.5 days. I avoid sugar, sometimes using honey molasses or stevia for just a few handful of recipes. I've cut back on carbs and increased protein, fresh veggies, and select fruits. The transformation has been remarkable. Wow. I lost so much weight so quickly that friends initially thought I was ill.
Yeah. That's
today.
crazy.
What do you say?
That's crazy.
Right? Today, I'm a different man. I'm engaged to a wonderful woman. I have a new wardrobe and, most importantly, a whole new outlook on life. I don't weigh myself often. I prefer to measure progress by how I feel and, yes, by my belt notches. At last check, I was around 170 pounds, and my long-term goal is 150, but I'm not chasing numbers. I'm focused on health, not the scale.
Good for you. 85 pounds and counting.
Right?
Jeez.
Your podcast has truly been a lifesaver, and I don't mean that as a flighty exaggeration. It's a fact. Thank you so much. Thank you both so much for what you are doing. So,
Wow.
shout out to you, he who knows knows. Thank you for the positive feedback. Thank you for the encouragement, but most importantly, thank you for putting yourself first and doing the work. And
Thanks for. Yeah, go ahead.
that is ultimately what we found with those customized biometric plans.
Yeah.
Was we got to figure out a way to help people do the work, and that's what we've been working on over the last few years. Go ahead, Tommy.
No, it's one conversation, it's one story at a time. Because even before you feel like you have the knowledge to like put something in place, or to even like confidently go about your next day to start your next 23-hour fast, it really, you have to kind of be inspired to even go like, okay, something's possible that I'm not achieving right now, and then you're looking for the next answer to your next question so you can go do more. But you have to, it starts with that inspiration that you could do more. And that was you asking me what I was doing differently on Father's Day. Like, you were inspired in that moment and then became curious because of the inspiration. And like that's where the magic happens, from each story like this. So thank you so much for sharing it.
Let's share some of the biggest transformations and stories that we've seen, Tommy. So, okay. Had an interesting conversation with a friend who heard this from a friend that they had done a recent 72-hour fast and lost 6 pounds of muscle. And my initial response in my head was, wow, that's not a very intelligent statement. And then I thought, well, there's a lack of perception here, and you're using tools incorrectly. Because I know that that's probably one of those scales that you step on, and it gives you those biometric, the bioimpedance feedback.
Yeah.
And it reminds me of the story of Jason, who's a graduate from the coaching program, who shared a story of when he did a challenge at the gym, like a weight loss challenge transformation, and then he did our 6 weeks with us through a challenge and through coaching, and his results completely spoke differently. So just to highlight the misinformation, or the reason why it's tough when you break the rule of fasting, is, when you do a 72-hour fast, the loss of 6 pounds of lean muscle is physiologically impossible.
Right.
So it has to be a data reporting error, or you're using the wrong tool or putting too much stock in it. Because when you're glycogen and glucose depleted, you don't have the water that's being held onto those glucose and glycogen molecules. So the scale is going to interpret that as lean muscle tissue loss.
Right.
The typical lean muscle tissue gain, over the course of 30, 60, 90, up to days, up to 6 months, is you're really going to see initially a greater spike, and then it slows down. So you'll see anywhere from like 0.75 to maybe 1.25 pounds of muscle in a month that you can put on. And then that decreases over time. So, bodybuilders, when they do bulking and cutting cycles, I mean, if you're getting 4 to 6 pounds of lean muscle tissue gained in that 3 to 6 months, that's an absolutely massive victory.
Right.
So to highlight the silliness of that statement, here's a story from Jason. He used one of those body scanners at the gym, which are much more accurate. The gold standard is going to be the DEXA scan. But these like the InBody 360s, the eVolts, those types of things. So when he did the challenge at the gym, he said, when he did the last time I did one of those transformation challenges at the gym, I lost less than 7 pounds of fat and almost lost 2 pounds of muscle doing calorie restriction only. When he did our 6 weeks, did a challenge, and then joined coaching.
That's pretty congruent with the research as well.
Yeah. The leaner you are can be up to 30 to 35%. The more fat you have to lose, it would be less. But 9 pounds total, 7 of it fat, 2 of it lean muscle tissue, right? When he did the challenge with us, he was down 12.5 pounds of fat and only lost 0.4 pounds of lean muscle tissue.
Wow.
He prioritized protein. He compartmentalized his workouts. He did resistance training a few times a week. And he put the priority on quality protein and nutrition during his eating opportunities.
Yeah, and he was a clean faster, but he was by no means perfect.
Nope.
That's for sure. but he
Jason,
was
you're not a superhero, but you are incredibly inspiring.
right, and he would tell you, he's like, I'm not a superhero, but his why was very important to him. He's a dad and a husband, and his longevity and quality of life on the long term were important to him. So he said, I don't want to be carrying around more visceral or more subcutaneous fat than I need. I need to get this right, and that's why he would keep coming back to it, because even when he did regain some of the weight, he still needed to get it right again, and he
Yep.
was willing to go after it again, right? That tenacity that we heard from Rick earlier as well.
And Jason had one of the greatest whys too, in terms of wanting to travel and provide for his family. And he had a really
Hmm.
strong anchor, which is what we talk about on day one of our challenges, and we revisit all the time in our coaching, is
Yeah.
that you have to have a why greater than just the number on the scale. So I want to give a shout out, Tommy, to a couple other highlights here. TJ, remember TJ?
I do remember TJ from way back 2020, 2021. TJ was in, some of our original challenges. And then even like as we were starting to go like, hey, we need to provide guidance and support between the challenges too. And that's when she kind of entered the picture. And
Yeah, that's when our Facebook group started. That's when our coaching started.
yeah. And TJ didn't have a lot of weight to lose. I mean, it's been a while, but somewhere around, maybe it was like 20, 25 pounds, something like that, like a relatively modest number, let's say, not a huge number. But
Right.
at the same time, she had been living with, I believe it was early onset Parkinson's from her from her 20s, I believe, and decades later, this was affecting her in a substantial way. And I part of her my why was to try to get some level of control back over her body and her symptoms and her tremors that she would experience. And so every time she would kind of hit a next 5 or 10 pound mark as she was cutting through these extra fat stores, was like she was feeling life and control coming back to her, to where when she was probably a year or so into coaching, just one day she just drops a bomb and just drops this video in our group, just comparing her tremors from years back and from just the prior year to what she had like on that day. And it was at least an 80% reduction in the magnitude of her tremors. And it was just, but she wrote this just long heartfelt story about her journey, and like a lot of those details that we had never seen or heard from her before. And it was just it was incredible to see, and still serves as an inspiration for like decades long disease processes that build and continue to work their way through our bodies, that we can still have an impact on, even if that's not normally what we're hearing, or what even our doctors may be familiar with when we walk into their offices going, well, doc, is there hope for me? Can I reverse some of this, or am I just kind of, is this just going to be me forever, or can I do anything about it? A lot of times what we hear is, well, you can't really reverse X, Y, and Z. But TJ gave us a level of hope for something that we just hadn't seen before.
Yeah, and I mean that video was striking. The difference
Hmm.
in the resting tremor before and after, and
Yeah.
and then along similarly, just after that, it gave us confidence to keep going. And this is why we love the feedback from y'all and the stories and the testimonies. And thank you so much for sharing, because we are on this journey with you. Then my dad started his journey.
Yeah.
Shout out, where he was on 17 medications, 120 units of insulin a day, multiple blood pressure medications, metformin, all the stuff you can possibly imagine. 80, about 60 to 80 pounds overweight, a 30-year diabetic, and he decided to make the change. And now he's no longer, he's off 15 of those 17 medications. He's no longer a diagnosed diabetic. His blood sugar numbers are better now than when he was on all the medication.
Amazing.
So encouragement that fasting goes beyond just the number on the scale. So another one I want to shout out from a lifestyle transformation standpoint is Lada. She's overseas.
Lada. Yep.
I always forget where she is, but she's overseas. She's been a member of the coaching group,
Sweden.
and
Sweden.
she's just a silent killer. Like
Hmm.
she's a silent crusher. Let's put it that
Yeah.
way. And one of the biggest things that she shared with us is the person that she is now compared to the person that she was when she used to diet. She used to avoid like avocados and Greek yogurt because of the fat content, right?
Right.
And
Right.
now she says that, she can ski a full day without having to be completely depleted and rest. And her son no longer sees her as the mom that needs to stop and take a rest when they're out there playing catch on the football field. Like,
Wow.
she can keep up with him now.
Yeah.
And she just highlights this transformative process that takes place as your identity shifts, as you truly change the individual that you are, your subconscious behavior patterns, your relationship with food, your outlook on life. All of that comes with sustainable with action that leads to sustainable change. So
Yeah.
just want to give Lotta a shout out. You're a silent crusher. Keep doing you. Go ahead, Tommy.
Yeah, I want to highlight one thing, which is just that one of her main obstacles for herself coming into her fasting lifestyle was just what was that self-image piece. It was the like, oh, I'm a mom. How am I going to say to my son and my family like that mom's not eating something tonight? Like, that's, she didn't want to pass on like an imbalanced relationship with food or plant the seed of one for her family, and that was a really important thing for her. So even just kind of leaning into that as one of her issues, that if she had just focused on burning through the fat, and I'll come back to that issue later, it wouldn't have worked. She would have been the 95% that would have given it back. But the reason why she's not, the reason why she finds herself in the 5%, or I'd argue the much higher percent of folks who go through it in a different way, in a way that we talk about it, that we encourage through our challenges and through coaching, is that we have that end point in mind. We have that sustainability, that long term in mind.
Yep.
And so what she did at that point was take that issue head on. We strategized about it, and she started taking some of the little things into the conversations with her family, where it's like, hey, you know what? I'm just not hungry for this meal. Instead of thinking about it like I have to solve all of the problems for forever right now in the way that I say it, why don't I just focus on this one meal?
Yep.
Hey, you know what? Mom's not hungry right now. I ate earlier, or you know what? Today I'm just not feeling like eating right now. So I'm going to catch you guys on the next meal, but I'm going to hang out with you guys and connect with you over dinner.
Yeah.
Great. You think really, is your family going to argue with that? Probably not if you communicated it like that. But for many of us, it's hard to even see ourselves even just sharing that little piece right there, even with our closest loved ones. But that's where a lot of the magic happens too for long-term sustainability, like in Lotta's case.
And that speaks to the whole how we talked about fasting then versus now, right? How we talked about fasting before versus how we talk about fasting now is we've been able to have the conversation about, like, how do you talk about fasting with your kids? Like, for me, it's changing the generational path of our health with my wife's family and my family and all the stuff that they have. We're like, we don't want that. We want to give our kids a different opportunity here. So teaching them about hunger cues and boredom and tiredness and fatigue and what the carbs do to their body and what the protein does to their body, and not demonizing carbohydrates, but be like, hey, this is for short-term energy. You ever eat a lot of sugar and then feel bad after? This is why. This is why we make sure we prioritize protein and exercise and all these different types of things. So be able to have application. We get to talk about that stuff now because we realize the importance. Back then when we started, it wasn't really on the forefront. It was like, oh, objection handling. How do I handle the family? Now it's like truly lifestyle intervention. Really, really cool to see. So 2 more shout outs and we'll talk about the future fasting life and what we see fasting becoming. Tommy, I want to give a shout out to Robert. So
Robert, so
one of our group moderators and coaches, graduate from the program. The reason I want to highlight Robert is because we hear a lot of reasons and results from people right on their journey. And I used to have a lot of reasons. We can call them excuses. That old phrase, everybody's got one. So you either have reasons or results. And I got this from Dr. Brian, a colleague of mine. He had hats and stuff made up. Yeah. So reason or results. And we typically hear like, oh, I'm the food preparer for the family, or I cook all the meals, or I'm the patriarch or the matriarch that hosts dinner every week, or I cook for the like you're that in that category of caretaker or
I'm the host.
Prepper. I'm the host, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Well, Robert's a chef. So you want to talk about having the deck stacked against you, and his transformation of losing 100+ pounds and now changing his body composition
Yeah.
and helping other people do what he did. If he can do it, heck yeah, we can do it too, because that's a deck stacked against you.
Yeah, it absolutely is. And you know, like finding he's creative at finding the way to integrate his passions, his fitness, his body composition goals with his being a chef and fasting as well. Even so far as to, like, start hosting people on camping trips, being their personal chef while he may or may not be in the middle of a fast. Sometimes he is, sometimes he's not, but also, you know, bringing along his weight vest and other, you know, just small amounts of equipment that he can bring in for these camping trips, and so he can integrate his body composition, his long term goals into his lifestyle and into his career as well, which is just a really cool creative way. Because hey, if life's not, you know, aligning with all of your goals, hey, maybe it's time to rearrange some of the moving parts as much as possible. And so, you know, thinking creatively along those lines, like my story doesn't have to sound or look exactly like anybody else's story, is like, you know, Robert has really, you know, taken that and ran with it. So we're super proud of him. And, you know, just an inspiration at every step of the way. But again, he and Lotta and Jason and anybody else will that we would highlight would be the first one to say, "Hey, I'm not perfect. You know, like I don't have it all figured out." Is probably how Robert, you know, starts most of his sentences or his posts, is like, "Hey, I don't have it all figured out, you know, but here's what I'm doing and here's what's working and why I think it's working, and hopefully it'll be inspirational."
Another shout out to our coach and graduate of the program and just rock star is Kieran.
Yes.
Kieran is
Amazing.
a busy mom. She is a busy career woman, a busy wife,
Mm-hmm.
and her transformational story has just been absolutely incredible on how she has been able to, you know, balance hormones and lose the weight and regain, you know, just confidence and energy. And now she's helping family members with their long-term chronic lifestyle, autoimmune
Yep.
issues, and all of these types of things. So just a bright, right? Her story is so incredibly powerful. You'll see her inside of the Facebook groups.
Mm-hmm.
And she is just a keystone to what it is that we do in coaching. But it's another one of those, well, I either have results or reasons. And she had been on
Yeah.
the same roller coaster that we had been on. And so just a shout out to you, Kieran, that your journey and what you do for us and what you do for everyone else is just a testament to who you are. And your results speak for themselves. So just an incredible, incredible journey and story that she has as well.
Yeah, and the generational health is a big factor for her. That's a big part of her why, with struggles that her dad saw and struggles that were within her mom as well. And you know, like just like your dad, like eventually helping them to kind of turn the tide for themselves. Because hey, you talk about old dogs learning new tricks. I mean, it can be very, very tough, but you can't make somebody take the action steps. Again, it starts with inspiration, and then that kind of inspiration breeds curiosity, which then you have an opportunity to help lead. And you know, we find ourselves within a lot of these testimonials and these stories that get shared with us. Oh, the impact continues to grow from there. It might be within your friends or your family circle or your household, but oftentimes it extends farther into your workplace. Or you know, we know a lot of folks who, you know, they have their own conversations going, their own social media presence, and you
Yeah.
know, things like that, which is incredible. Because you know,
We don't care how it gets out there. We just want it out there.
the waves and the impact and the conversations, you know, continue to grow from there. So it's just incredibly inspiring. Thank you, Kieran.
Yep, absolutely. All right, one more shout out testimony here.
Okay.
Highlight some of the amazing things that we get to see doing what we do, and we're so grateful for it. Is a shout out to Meg. Now, not my wife, even though I
Hmm.
will give my wife a shout out because she's an absolute rock star. Totally outkicked the coverage. She's amazing. And, but Meg, you know who you are. You have 9 kids. You are an absolute rock star,
Inspiration.
an inspiration to so many. Again, I have 3 kids.
Hmm. Yeah, me
So
too.
3 times the amount.
Can't imagine.
I don't know how you do it, but I think of you often going, well, shoot, if Meg can do it,
Right.
I can do it too.
Right.
Because your list of things to do and manage and care for is way greater than mine.
Yep.
So you are truly an inspiration, and life has been lifing, and stress and just all of the things you can possibly imagine that can happen. We all have different life situations and things going on, and Meg has done something that I truly believe is the secret sauce to long-term success, is that she continually puts herself first. She continually puts on her oxygen mask first. She
Yeah.
shows up to coaching calls on the treadmill with the weight vest on, getting in her temptation bundling, her habit stacking,
Yep.
right? Listening to the training, reaching out when she needs help.
Mhm.
But we say this during our events, is you have to RSVP to the new you, to the version 2.0, the version 3.0, this transformative process that you're on. Because when we look at, what really, the motivation factor, the willpower factor, episode 125, one of the most downloaded episodes that we have about willpower, won't power, and want power, Meg could easily say, you know what, not today. That one workout won't matter. That one fast won't matter. That one food decision won't matter. And I'm not saying she's perfect.
Of course.
However, she consistently puts in RSVPs to her and herself and her goals first. She puts on her oxygen mask first, and she's become an absolute just guiding light for so many of the people that she's come across, that she's impacted directly or indirectly with how she has changed and transformed over the last 12 to 18 months. So just want to give you a shout out that, yeah, you might be thinking, I can't because of XYZ, or it's not the right time, or it's not the right fit. And I just hope, or maybe can fasting help with tremors? Like, what is the power of fasting beyond weight loss and health?
Yeah.
We highlighted these specific individuals because they all have one thing in common, is that they stayed consistent. They didn't necessarily just focus on the big, hairy, audacious goal off in the future, but they worked on foundational habits. They stayed consistent, and they all had a laundry list of things that could have caused them to not get results, but they had a greater reason or a greater why that they were anchored to that helped them stay the course when the wagon was trying to get off the road into the ditch and light on fire. They were able to
And sometimes it did. Sometimes it did. And you know what they said? They said, all right, well, let me pick up some wood. Let me pick up some materials, bring it back over here, salvage what I have left here, rebuild it, and let me push the dang thing right back onto the road and keep going, because the journey is not over. Right. And so that's the real inspiring part for me, because it's not just having the perfect plan. Who cares about the perfect plan? No plan will be perfect. No personalized PDF was perfect. That's for sure. But no plan is going to be perfect. It's the messy plan that you continue to work and to improve and to 1% better every day, and to keep going with, even when the going gets tough, or you have to give yourself a little bit of a break. Hey, this has been a bad few days or a bad quarter, whatever the case may be. You know what? It's time for me to get back up and keep going anyway. And so that's really what makes that long-term, those long-term actions and results unfold.
Yep, absolutely. All right, let's transition to the last piece of today's conversation, Tommy. What do we see as the future of fasting and the future of fasting for life? So when we looked at this and we started, to how we talked about it back then to how we talk about it now, I really see this shift in the adaptation of fasting and the fact that it's a lot more mainstream.
Yeah.
But we've seen this shift in healthcare too. And I mentioned this earlier, and I'm in the functional medicine space. So I coach about 85 docs and healthcare providers in the functional medicine space, in looking at root cause healthcare, in looking at, more like concierge type medicine. Because what the reality is that as we spend more and more on healthcare and get more specialized and more medications and this whole GLP thing, and we have all these different things, it's like, okay, what's at the root cause of this issue? And there's a whole giant Pandora's box we can open with that, with the obesogenic food environment that we live in, the sedentary lifestyle that we live, this blue light epidemic of screens and distraction and dopamine stealing that we get from social media and always getting notifications and Apple Watches and all this stuff.
Yeah.
But the reality is that we've seen some really good trends. So complementary and alternative medicine is not your standard medical care. So we're looking at things that have been around that are tried and true. So functional medicine, supplements, chiropractic, acupuncture, massage, meditation, yoga, homeopathy, naturopathy, Chinese medicine. You can go, like I said, open that Pandora's box as wide as you want.
Yeah.
But when we're looking at complementary alternative medicine and functional medicine, it's grown exponentially over the last 15 to 20 years. And I truly believe that's because people are sick and tired of being sick and tired, and they don't want to go and be told, oh, your labs look good, there's nothing wrong, or hey, oh yeah, your blood pressure is okay, yeah, lose some weight, or oh, your cholesterol, oh, here's some medication, or here's your chronic lifestyle condition that you now need to just air quotes manage the rest of your life.
Yeah, let's watch it. It's not going away.
Right. As all-cause mortality rises and heart disease and cancers and diabetes continue to rise. So I truly believe that people are sick and tired of being sick and tired, and they're looking for, a different approach. They're looking for things to help them feel better and get the weight off and truly create the life that they want. So this compound annual growth rate is staggering when you look at complementary alternative medicine. It was 181 billion in 2024. It's projected to be 1,734 billion, or a 25% growth rate by 2034.
Wow.
23% here just in the United States. The percentage of Americans using at least one complementary approach nearly doubled from 2002 to 2022. Functional medicine has gone up as well. Tremendous, up to 75% increase in functional medicine. People looking and searching out these alternatives. And I'm saying yes to all of those. Like I said, I coach docs on how to implement functional medicine into their practices, or build a brand new functional medicine business if they're in a different, specialization. And I truly believe that this is the key to the future. And one of the most powerful tools, because if we look at the food environment, the sedentary living, the screens, all of the things, there's some indications that people are shifting this way, never mind by the, compound annual growth rate, right? From a financial metric standpoint. But from an actual lifestyle application standpoint, is people are looking for solutions that they can control, that knowing that they're in the driver's seat of their health.
Yeah.
And I truly believe, that comes down to that lifestyle adaptation, or that customization, or that personalization of what are the things that I can do. And that's where fasting to me comes into play. So we've seen some of these trends, Tommy, where we saw it with alcohol, and we've seen it with smoking. Alcohol use, right, as the lowest it's ever been in recorded recent history in the United States. It's fell to 54%. Kids, adults under the age of 30. We
understand it. We understand the timeline better.
Yeah, we understand what it's doing. We have more knowledge. It's being accepted. The share of adults under 35 dropped from 72% to 62% in just 20 years. That's a huge drop.
Wow.
And since the early 2000s, alcohol use in adolescents has steadily declined.
That's great.
Same thing with smoking, right? Those have substantially dropped from 22% globally to 17% over the course of 12 years.
Wow.
So we're starting to see this shift in personal responsibility when it comes to healthcare, but then that also that also requires a personalized, customized approach.
Yeah, it sure does. And when we look at something like, you'll hear that kind of cliche phrase like XYZ is the new smoking, where it kind of means
sitting
like,
is the new smoking.
Yeah. Screens are
the new smoking, right? Yeah.
And so all of those things, it's because smoking became so popular, but it was having such a tremendously horrible effect on the lives of so many people that. And once that was kind of understood, then it became a matter of, okay, education, re-education, reversing habits, and understanding the pathophysiology, that happens with smoking, and then kind of fixing all of those problems for multiple generations who had kind of been ingrained in the smoking culture. You have the same thing with the alcohol discussion, but you also have the same thing with the obesogenic food environment and the understanding behind food supply, insulinogenic foods, and all of these problems that are kind of baked into our current system. And like we see the tides turning, we see the metabolic revolution, and we see the re-education happening, and it happens, in part from podcasts and from other conversations that just weren't happening a decade ago, or definitely not decades ago. And so, but those kind of things, and like for our fasting, our hashtag fasting 300, and the push for 5 million, and the like, it starts with every single one little conversation. There's so much to be discussed and to be understood. And then, like you said, it's going to have to be a personalized approach, though, because everybody's going to have had a different history with their insulin resistance and their personal issues, like we highlighted with some of
what
the
their life looks like.
Absolutely.
On a day-to-day basis.
How do I apply this stuff? How am I going to actually make this work for me? Because like almost everybody that I know knows somebody else who fasts sometimes, or who has had fasts, who has done fasting, quote unquote. But that doesn't mean that it feels applicable to them, because then it's like we always have this laundry list of, why might it not work for me? Like you said, reasons or results before. We can always come up with these reasons why it's not the perfect time or whatever else. But I'm going to argue that now is the perfect time to at least get started, and to at least lean into, the first couple of actions that you could take right now, even before it becomes like a fully realized plan, or before it feels like a really good plan. Just a messy plan with a little bit of action today is going to beat the better plan for tomorrow or next week or next month every single time, because you'll be so much further ahead. It's just like compound interest when you talk about financial growth. It just start today with a little bit, rather than waiting, and then so you can do more, right?
100%. And that just speaks to the what and the why behind the how, right? So we started back then talking about fasting with a lot of the how to. And what we've realized is a lot of the conversation for long-term sustainability and results has shifted to, if you know the what and the why, it makes the how that much easier. So we talk so much more about stress and sleep and insulin, and my journey with alcohol has completely changed, and my journey with prioritizing sleep and, leading our family and changing that. So it's a completely different mindset shift. When we look at this complementary alternative medicine, what are the things that you do? What are the tools that you have? Because that's ultimately what's going to get you the greatest result, is knowing that you have the opportunity to do something different and get a different result. If you want the results that everybody else gets, do what they do.
Right.
Seriously, just stop. If for a perspective shift, sit down, go to a busy area, and just watch the people around you. Just take note. Go to an airport, right? And just get a perspective of looking around, because the stats don't lie, right? 76% of the population is overweight or obese. We know the staggering health statistics, and the reality is fasting is such an incredibly powerful tool. So if you are looking for more support, you can head to the show notes. You can join the upcoming challenge if you want an advanced kind of sped up version of what it is we do and how we do it. We have our blueprint to fasting for fat loss. We have our resources on the website. But Tommy, I'm really excited about what the future holds for fasting. We've got some ideas in the works. We'd love to hear from you too, what you'd love to see from us. Shoot us a message of support. Support at thefastingforlife.com, or Dr. Scott at thefastingforlife.com, or Tommy at thefastingforlife.com. We'd love to hear from what you'd love to know and learn and see from us in terms of resources or support. We have a couple of cool things in the hopper. We're talking about a book/app combo to really fill that gap of customization and personalization, and having a little coach with you 24/7. Like, let's leverage the phone if we're always going to be around the phone, to its detriment. So we got some really cool, exciting
Get
things
something
coming
good
up.
out of it, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. We got a couple of challenges coming up the end of this. So we have one at the beginning of October, and then we have one right before Thanksgiving, the week before, perfectly placed, strategically placed before the holidays truly hit. So Tommy, man, I appreciate the conversation. And as we celebrate 300 episodes, we are truly reminded it isn't just about fasting. It's about reclaiming health, hope, and freedom in a broken healthcare system. So every download, every story, hashtag fasting 300, Every step you've taken alongside of us on this journey is proof that lasting change is 100% possible. We are so grateful for you, the listeners, for being part of this journey. Here's to the next Tommy. Here's to the next 300 conversations, 300. Discoveries, and victories together. Stay encouraged, stay consistent, and as always, stay fasting for life, sir. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you. Bye. So, you've heard today's episode, and you may be wondering, where do I start? Head on over to thefastingforlife.com and sign up for our newsletter, where you'll receive fasting tips and strategies to maximize results and fit fasting into your day-to-day life.
While you're there, download your free Fast Start guide to get started today. Don't forget to subscribe on iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Make sure to leave us a 5-star review, and we'll be back next week with another episode of Fasting for Life.